I did not invite my parents to my wedding because they always prioritize my sister's fake mental health emergencies over my important life events like graduations and birthdays. I, 27F, got married last month to my boyfriend Rocky, 29M, and I did not invite my parents or my younger sister Macy, 24F, to the wedding. Now half my family is calling me selfish and cruel. I need to know if I made the right choice or if I went too far. Let me tell why I made this decision. When I was 8 years old, my sister Macy was diagnosed with anxiety disorder and depression. The doctors said it was manageable with medication and therapy, nothing life-threatening or severely debilitating. But from that day forward, everything in our house revolved around Macy and her mental health. The first time I really noticed something was wrong was when I was 13. I had been practicing for months to audition for the school play. It was the lead role in Romeo and Juliet, and I really wanted to play Juliet. My parents promised they would drive me to the audition and wait for me. The morning of the audition, Macy said she was having a panic attack and needed to go to the emergency room immediately. My parents took her to the hospital and left me at home. I missed the audition completely. Later that evening, my grandmother called to check on Macy. During the conversation, she mentioned that she had seen Macy at the mall earlier that day, laughing with friends and carrying shopping bags. When I asked my parents about this, they said Macy must have been feeling better after the hospital visit. But the audition had already passed. When I turned 16, my grandparents flew in from across the country to celebrate my birthday. We had planned a big party at a nice restaurant. My parents had ordered a custom cake with my photo on it, and I had invited all my friends. 2 hours before the party, Macy claimed she was having severe anxiety about an upcoming test and needed immediate medical attention. My parents took the car, which had my cake in it, and drove Macy to urgent care. The party went on without them. My grandparents paid for everything and tried to make it special, but I spent most of the evening wondering if Macy was okay. When my parents came home at midnight, I learned that Macy had been given mild anxiety medication and released after 20 minutes. They had eaten my custom birthday cake in the hospital waiting room because Macy said she was hungry. The pattern continued through high school. I was captain of the debate team and we made it to state championships my senior year. The morning of the competition, Macy had what my parents called a mental health crisis. She said she could not handle being alone and needed constant supervision. My parents stayed home with her instead of watching me compete. We won first place, but no one from my family was there to see it. I got into a good college on a partial scholarship, but my parents said they could not help with the remaining costs. They explained that they were saving money for Macy's future therapy and potential medical expenses. I worked 2 jobs throughout college to pay for my education and graduated with a degree in accounting. Macy, meanwhile, dropped out of community college twice because she said the stress was too much for her mental health. When I graduated college, I specifically asked my parents to come to the ceremony. I bought them plane tickets and reserved seats for them. The night before graduation, Macy called them crying. She said she was having a breakdown because she had seen a social media post about college graduations that triggered her anxiety. My parents flew home immediately to be with her. I walked across the stage alone while my roommate's family cheered for me from the audience. After college, I got a job at a good accounting firm in another city. I worked hard and got promoted to senior accountant within 2 years. When I called to share the news, my mother spent 5 minutes congratulating me before switching the conversation to Macy's latest therapy breakthrough. She talked about Macy's progress for 30 minutes. Around this time, I met Rocky at a professional conference. He worked for a different accounting firm, and we started dating. His family welcomed me immediately. His mother remembered my birthday without being reminded. His father asked about my work projects and actually listened to my answers. His sister sent me a card when I got another promotion. They celebrated my achievements without making them about someone else. After dating for 2 years, Rocky proposed. We decided to have a small wedding with just close family and friends. As we planned the guest list, I started having panic attacks about inviting my parents and Macy. I kept imagining Macy having a crisis during the ceremony, or my parents leaving halfway through to take care of her. Rocky suggested we talk through all the important events Macy had disrupted over the years. We made a list, and it was longer than I expected. Macy had emergencies during my high school graduation, my college graduation, my birthday parties, my promotion celebration dinner, and even during a weekend visit Rocky and I had planned with my parents. Every single important moment in my adult life had been overshadowed by Macy's mental health needs. Rocky asked what I wanted to do. I told him I wanted one day that was just about us, without any drama or emergencies. We decided not to invite my parents or Macy to the wedding. I called a few aunts and uncles to let them know, and asked them not to share details about the wedding date or location. The wedding was perfect. Rocky's father walked me down the aisle since my own father was not there. Rocky's mother helped me get ready and did my hair. We had 40 guests who were all there to celebrate us. No one left early. No one had a medical emergency. For the first time in years, I was the center of attention at my own event. 3 days after the wedding, my cousin posted photos on social media. My parents saw them and started calling me immediately. They left 12 voicemails and sent dozens of text messages. My mother called me ungrateful and selfish. My father said I had humiliated them in front of the extended family. They claimed they had been good parents who sacrificed everything for their daughters, especially Macy, who needed more support. Macy sent me a long message saying I had destroyed the family and caused her to have a major anxiety episode that landed her in the hospital. She said I was cruel for excluding her from such an important day, especially when she had been doing better with her mental health lately. Several aunts and uncles have called to lecture me about family loyalty. They said that mental illness is not Macy's fault and that I should be more understanding. They pointed out that my parents did their best to support both of us, and that Macy genuinely needs help. A few cousins have stopped speaking to me entirely. But some family members have been supportive. My grandmother said she understands why I made this choice, though she wishes things had been different. One of my uncles admitted that he had noticed the pattern over the years and thought it was unfair to me. Now I am wondering if I was wrong. Maybe I should have given my family another chance. Maybe Macy really was sick all those times and I am being too harsh. My parents did sacrifice a lot for Macy over the years, and mental illness is a real medical condition. Maybe I was selfish for prioritizing my own happiness over Macy's needs. But I also remember how peaceful my wedding day was. For once, I did not spend an entire event worried about someone else's crisis. I got to focus on marrying the person I love without any distractions or drama. Rocky and I were able to enjoy every moment of our celebration. I have been married for a month now, and my parents are still not speaking to me. Macy sends me occasional messages asking when I'm going to apologize and make things right. The rest of the family is divided, with some people supporting me and others thinking I went too far. I need honest opinions from people who do not know my family. Was I wrong to exclude them from my wedding? Should I have handled this differently? Am I being unfair to Macy and my parents, or was this the right choice for my mental health and my marriage? Update 1: I want to thank everyone who responded to my original post. The support from strangers helped me realize that I was not crazy for seeing a pattern in my family's behavior. Some people mentioned something called medical trauma, which gave me a new way to think about what happened to me growing up. A lot has happened since I posted. First, my parents escalated their campaign to get me to apologize. My mother called Rocky's workplace and told his boss that he had stolen their daughter and turned her against her family. She asked if the company had policies about employees who break up families. Rocky's boss was confused and told my mother that personal family matters were not the company's concern. My father started calling Rocky directly, leaving messages about how I had always been a difficult child who needed extra patience. He said Rocky did not understand what they had been through raising Macy, and that I had exaggerated everything to make myself look like a victim. He asked Rocky to convince me to reconcile with them. The most upsetting part was when my mother called Rocky's mother and cried about how they had lost their daughter. She said I had cut them off without warning and refused to explain why. Rocky's mother, who is a retired social worker, listened patiently and then asked some questions about our family history. When Rocky's mother asked about specific events, like graduations and birthdays, my mother became defensive. She said that Macy's mental health had required sacrifices from everyone in the family, and that I was being dramatic about a few missed events. Rocky's mother pointed out that missing every major milestone in a child's life was not just a few events. The conversation ended badly when my mother accused Rocky's family of poisoning me against my own parents. Rocky's mother told me later that my mother hung up on her when she suggested that parents should be able to attend their children's graduations without it being impossible. But the biggest shock came from my cousin Jessica, 26F, who lives in the same city as my parents. She called me last week with information I was not expecting. Jessica told me that she had been thinking about my wedding situation and remembered something strange from when we were teenagers. She said that she had always thought Macy's timing with her emergencies was weird, but she never said anything because mental illness is supposed to be unpredictable. Then Jessica told me about something that happened when I was 17. It was the night of my senior prom. I had saved money from my part-time job to buy a dress and get my hair done professionally. My date was the guy I had been crushing on all year, and he had finally asked me. 2 hours before prom, Macy started having what my parents called a severe panic attack. She said she could not breathe and felt like she was dying. My parents rushed her to the emergency room and told me they would try to make it back in time for pictures. They never came back, and I ended up going to prom with my date's family taking pictures of us. Jessica said she had been working at the movie theater that night and saw Macy there with her boyfriend around the time I was supposed to be taking pre-prom photos. Macy was eating popcorn and looked completely normal. Jessica thought it was strange but assumed Macy had recovered quickly and my parents had given her permission to go out. Jessica never told me about this because she did not want to cause family drama. But after hearing about my wedding situation, she started wondering how many other times Macy had miraculous recoveries that coincided with my important events. This information hit me harder than I expected. I had always assumed that Macy's panic attacks were real, even if the timing was unfortunate. Learning that she was out having fun while I missed my senior prom made me question everything. I decided to look back through Macy's social media posts from over the years. What I found was disturbing. On the day of my college graduation, when she supposedly had a breakdown about graduation triggers, she had posted photos of herself at a music festival. The timestamp showed she was posting during the exact time my parents were flying home to take care of her. On my 16th birthday, when she had that panic attack that ruined my party, she had checked into a restaurant across town with her friends 2 hours later. The location tag showed she was there during the time my parents said she was too anxious to be left alone. I found at least 6 other instances where Macy's social media activity contradicted the emergencies that had disrupted my events. She was always somewhere fun, with friends, looking happy and normal. I screenshotted everything and sent it to Rocky. He was quiet for a long time after looking at the evidence. Then he asked if I thought Macy had been faking her mental health crises specifically to ruin my important days. I did not want to believe that my own sister would be that calculating and cruel. But the evidence was right there in her own social media posts. She had been lying about medical emergencies for years, and my parents had either been fooled or had been helping her. This revelation changed how I viewed my entire childhood and teenage years. It was not just bad luck or unfortunate timing. Macy had deliberately sabotaged my achievements and celebrations. My parents had enabled her behavior by never questioning her sudden recoveries or convenient timing. I decided to confront Macy directly. I called her and asked her to explain why she was posting from a music festival during my college graduation when she was supposedly having a mental health crisis. She was silent for almost a full minute. Then Macy started crying and said that I was attacking her when she was already struggling. She claimed that her social media posts did not tell the whole story, and that she often forced herself to go out even when she was having panic attacks. She said I was being cruel by questioning her mental illness. But when I mentioned the movie theater incident from prom night, Macy's story fell apart. She could not explain why she had been eating popcorn and laughing with her boyfriend when she was supposed to be in the emergency room having a panic attack. Eventually Macy admitted that sometimes she exaggerated her symptoms when she felt like I was getting too much attention. She said it was not fair that I was good at everything and she struggled with mental health issues. She claimed that she deserved support and attention too, especially when I was being celebrated for achievements that came easily to me. I asked Macy if she understood that her fake emergencies had caused me to miss major life events that I could never get back. She said that my events were not more important than her mental health needs, even if she had exaggerated sometimes. The conversation ended when Macy accused me of being a terrible sister who had never supported her mental health journey. She said that I was using a few social media posts to invalidate years of genuine struggle with anxiety and depression. After hanging up, I realized that Macy had not apologized for anything. She had not acknowledged the pain her lies had caused me. Instead, she had tried to make me the villain for discovering her deception. I have not spoken to my parents since learning about Macy's fake emergencies. Part of me wants to send them the evidence and see what they say. But another part of me thinks they might have known the truth all along and chosen to prioritize Macy anyway. Rocky thinks I should focus on building our life together instead of trying to get my family to acknowledge what they did to me. He points out that even if they admitted everything, it would not give me back my missed graduations or my ruined prom night. I've been staying off social media and not responding to messages from extended family members. Some of them are still pressuring me to reconcile with my parents, saying that family should forgive each other no matter what. But I am not sure forgiveness is possible when the other party refuses to acknowledge they did anything wrong. Right now I am focusing on my marriage and my career. Rocky and I are looking at houses in a different city where his company has offered him a promotion. The idea of starting fresh somewhere new, away from all the family drama, sounds appealing. Update 2: I was not planning to post another update, but something major happened that I think people who followed my story should know about. Last month, Rocky and I moved to Denver for his job promotion. We bought a small house and were settling into our new life. I had been feeling better about the wedding situation and was starting to think less about my family's reaction. Then my Aunt Carol, 52F, my mother's sister, called me out of nowhere. Carol had been one of the family members pressuring me to reconcile with my parents. She had left me several voicemails after the wedding calling me stubborn and selfish. But this time Carol sounded different. She said she needed to tell me something important about Macy and my parents. She asked if I could meet her for coffee when she visited Denver for work the following week. I was suspicious because Carol had never supported me before. But curiosity got the better of me, and I agreed to meet her. When Carol arrived at the coffee shop, she looked nervous and kept checking her phone. She told me that she had been cleaning out her late mother's house and found something that changed her understanding of my family situation. Carol pulled out a shoebox full of old letters and cards. She explained that my grandmother had kept every piece of correspondence from family members for decades. Most of it was boring family updates and holiday cards. But Carol had found a series of letters that my mother had written to my grandmother over the years. The letters dated back to when Macy was first diagnosed with anxiety, and they continued through my high school and college years. Carol handed me one of the letters from when I was 14. In my mother's handwriting, I read about how Macy had been jealous of my academic achievements and social popularity. My mother wrote that Macy had started having panic attacks whenever I brought home good grades or got invited to parties. The letter mentioned that Macy's therapist had suggested that Macy might be unconsciously timing her anxiety episodes to coincide with my successes. My mother wrote that the therapist recommended family counseling to address the sibling rivalry and attention-seeking behaviors. But the most shocking part was what my mother wrote next. She said that she and my father had decided not to pursue family therapy because it would be too expensive and time-consuming. Instead, they chose to give Macy extra attention during her episodes to help her feel more secure. My mother's letter explicitly stated that she knew Macy's panic attacks were worse when I was being celebrated for something. Rather than addressing this pattern, my mother had decided to accommodate it by making sure Macy got equal or greater attention during my achievements. Carol showed me another letter from my senior year of high school. My mother wrote about Macy's prom night panic attack and mentioned that Macy had recovered quickly and gone to see a movie afterward. My mother knew that Macy had been well enough to go out, but she did not come back to take prom pictures with me because she did not want to make Macy feel left out. There were letters covering my college graduation, my promotions, and even my engagement announcement. In every letter, my mother acknowledged that Macy's timing was suspicious, but she consistently chose to prioritize Macy's emotional needs over my celebrations. The final letter was dated just 2 weeks before my wedding. My mother wrote to my grandmother about how Macy was upset about not being asked to be maid of honor. The letter mentioned that Macy was planning to have a panic attack during the wedding ceremony to remind everyone that she needed support too. My mother's response was not to talk to Macy about this inappropriate plan. Instead, she wrote that she was prepared to leave the wedding early if Macy needed her, because Macy's mental health was more fragile than my feelings about my wedding day. Carol said she had read these letters 3 times before calling me. She realized that my parents had not been innocent victims of Macy's mental illness. They had been active participants in a pattern that prioritized Macy's attention-seeking behavior over my legitimate achievements. I asked Carol why she was showing me this now, when she had been so critical of me after the wedding. She said that reading my mother's own words had made her realize that I had been telling the truth about the pattern of sabotage. Carol apologized for not believing me sooner. She said that from the outside, it looked like my parents were just dealing with a mentally ill child as best they could. She had not realized that they were making deliberate choices to enable Macy's manipulative behavior. After Carol left, I sat in my car and read through all the letters again. Seeing my mother's thoughts written in her own handwriting was more painful than I expected. She had known all along that Macy was timing her episodes to ruin my special moments. She had chosen to reward the behavior instead of stopping it. When I got home, I showed the letters to Rocky. He was quiet for a long time after reading them. Then he said that he was sorry I had to see proof of how little my parents valued my happiness. I decided to make copies of the letters and mail them to Macy. I included a note asking her to explain why she thought it was acceptable to plan panic attacks specifically to disrupt my wedding and other events. Macy called me 2 days later, screaming and crying. She said that I had no right to have those letters and that I was violating her privacy by reading them. She claimed that her mental health struggles were real, even if she sometimes exaggerated them for attention. I asked Macy if she understood that planning to fake a panic attack during my wedding ceremony was cruel and manipulative. She said that she had not actually gone through with it because she was not invited, so I should be grateful instead of angry. Macy then said something that shocked me. She told me that she had always felt like our parents loved me more because I was successful and easy to raise. She said her anxiety and depression were real medical conditions, but she had learned that having episodes got her the attention and care she craved. Macy claimed that she never meant to hurt me, but that she deserved parental support and celebration too. She said that my achievements came naturally to me, while her mental health struggles were hard work that deserved recognition. I told Macy that faking medical emergencies to steal attention from other people's achievements was not a valid way to get support. I pointed out that her behavior had caused me to miss irreplaceable moments like graduations and prom. Macy said that those events were not as important as her mental health needs. She told me that I was selfish for prioritizing parties and ceremonies over her emotional well-being. She accused me of never caring about her struggles or supporting her recovery. The call ended when Macy said that she was blocking my number and never wanted to speak to me again. She said that I had chosen to destroy our family by airing private business instead of supporting her healing journey. I have not heard from my parents since Carol showed me the letters. I think Macy probably told them that I have evidence of their enabling behavior. Part of me wants to confront them with the letters, but I am not sure what I would gain from that conversation. Rocky thinks I should let the whole situation go and focus on our new life in Denver. He points out that I now have definitive proof that I made the right choice by not inviting them to the wedding. Macy had literally been planning to fake a panic attack during my ceremony, and my parents were prepared to accommodate her. I have been thinking about whether I should send copies of the letters to the extended family members who criticized me for excluding my parents and Macy from the wedding. Some of them might change their minds if they knew the truth about Macy's calculated behavior. But I also wonder if it would just create more drama and division in the family. The people who matter most to me already know the truth. Maybe it is better to let the others believe whatever they want to believe. Right now I am focusing on settling into our new city and building friendships with people who do not know my family history. It feels good to be around people who celebrate my achievements without qualification or comparison to someone else's needs. Final update: this will be my last update about the wedding situation. I wanted to share what happened because some people have been asking for closure on the story. About 3 months ago, Macy showed up at my house in Denver unannounced. I was not expecting her and was shocked to see her standing on my doorstep with 2 suitcases. Macy said that our parents had kicked her out of the house after she had a fight with them about getting a job. She claimed that they told her she needed to become more independent and stop relying on them for everything. She had driven to Denver because she had nowhere else to go. I did not invite Macy inside. Instead, I asked her why she thought I would help her after everything that had happened. She started crying and said that we were sisters and family was supposed to support each other no matter what. Macy told me that she had been thinking about our relationship and realized that some of her behavior over the years had been inappropriate. She said she was willing to work on herself and rebuild our bond if I would give her a chance. I asked Macy specifically about the planned panic attack for my wedding that my mother had written about in the letter to my grandmother. Macy admitted that she had suggested the idea but claimed she never would have actually gone through with it. When I pressed Macy about all the other fake emergencies over the years, she became defensive. She said that her mental health struggles were real even if she had exaggerated symptoms sometimes for attention. She insisted that I was being unfair by focusing on a few instances instead of acknowledging her genuine medical needs. Macy said that she was ready to apologize for any pain she had caused me, but that I also needed to take responsibility for abandoning the family when she needed support. She claimed that cutting off contact had made her mental health worse and proven that I did not care about her well-being. I told Macy that I was not interested in rebuilding our relationship. I explained that her pattern of sabotaging my important events had caused permanent damage to my ability to trust her. I said that her refusal to take full responsibility for her actions showed that she had not actually changed. Macy became angry and accused me of being vindictive and holding grudges. She said that I was using her mental illness against her and punishing her for having medical needs. She claimed that I had always been jealous of the attention she got from our parents. I asked Macy to leave my property. She refused and said that she had driven 12 hours to see me and deserved a chance to explain herself. She sat down on my front porch and said she would not leave until I agreed to let her stay with Rocky and me temporarily. I had to call the police to have Macy removed from my property. When the officers arrived, Macy told them that I was her sister and that we were having a family disagreement. She claimed that I was being unreasonable and cruel by refusing to help her when she was homeless. The police explained to Macy that she could not stay on someone's property without permission, even if they were family. They asked if she had anywhere else to go, and Macy said that our parents had kicked her out and I was her only option. One of the officers suggested that Macy contact local social services for housing assistance. Macy started crying and said that she just wanted her sister back and did not understand why I was being so heartless. After the police left with Macy, I felt shaken by the encounter. Rocky came home from work to find me sitting on the couch staring at nothing. He asked what had happened, and I told him about Macy's unexpected visit. Rocky was concerned that Macy might come back or escalate her attempts to contact me. He suggested that we install security cameras around the house and consider getting a restraining order if Macy continued to harass us. 2 weeks later, my father called me for the first time since the wedding. He said that Macy was staying in a motel and running out of money. He asked if I would reconsider helping her, since she was my sister and family should take care of each other. I asked my father if he had read the letters that my mother wrote to my grandmother about Macy's fake emergencies. He was quiet for a moment, then said that those letters were private correspondence that I had no right to see. When I pressed my father about whether he knew that Macy had planned to fake a panic attack during my wedding, he said that Macy's mental health issues were complicated and I was oversimplifying the situation. My father claimed that Macy genuinely struggled with anxiety and depression, even if she sometimes acted out for attention. He said that as her family, we should be supporting her recovery instead of punishing her for past mistakes. I told my father that I was done enabling Macy's manipulative behavior. I explained that her pattern of sabotaging my achievements had damaged me in ways that could not be repaired by a simple apology. I said that I was not responsible for fixing problems that he and my mother had created by rewarding Macy's attention-seeking behavior. My father became angry and accused me of being selfish and unforgiving. He said that Macy was genuinely struggling and needed family support to get back on her feet. He claimed that I was abandoning my responsibilities as a sister and a daughter. I told my father that Macy was an adult who needed to face the consequences of her actions. I pointed out that she had spent years deliberately ruining my important moments, and that I was not obligated to rescue her from the results of that behavior. The conversation ended when my father said that he was ashamed of the person I had become. He told me that my mother was heartbroken about losing both of her daughters, and that I was tearing the family apart with my stubbornness. I have not heard from any of my family members since that phone call 6 months ago. Rocky and I settled into our life in Denver and made new friends through work and neighborhood activities. We joined a hiking group and volunteer at a local animal shelter together. Last month, I got a promotion to accounting manager at my company. When I shared the news with Rocky, he took me out to dinner to celebrate and called his parents to tell them about my achievement. His family sent flowers to my office and his sister mailed me a congratulatory card. For the first time in my adult life, I got to enjoy a professional achievement without worrying about someone else's emergency overshadowing it. There were no frantic phone calls about panic attacks or sudden medical crises that required immediate attention. I do not regret my decision to exclude my parents and Macy from my wedding. The evidence I found in my grandmother's letters confirmed that they had been willing participants in a pattern of prioritizing Macy's attention-seeking behavior over my legitimate achievements. Some people might think I should have given my family more chances to change or worked harder to repair our relationships. But I have learned that I cannot force other people to acknowledge their harmful behavior or make amends for the damage they caused. My life is peaceful now without the constant drama and manipulation that defined my childhood and young adulthood. Rocky and I are planning to start a family in the next few years, and I am committed to creating a home where all children feel valued and celebrated equally. I still think about my family sometimes and wonder how different things might have been if my parents had addressed Macy's jealousy and attention-seeking behavior when we were young. But I cannot change the past, and I refuse to let their dysfunction continue to affect my future happiness. To anyone reading this who recognizes similar patterns in their own family, I want you to know that you deserve to have your achievements celebrated without qualification or competition. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions or sacrificing your own happiness to keep the peace. Sometimes the healthiest choice is to build new traditions with people who genuinely want to support your success. That is what I have done, and I have never been happier. Now let's move to the next story. Story 2. My abusive stepdad made my life hell, so I moved out. Then he started targeting my young cousin, and my mom still chose him over us. I'm a 16-year-old guy who grew up with divorced parents since I was 8. My parents' split wasn't too dramatic compared to other divorces I heard about. They managed to keep things pretty civil and never used me as a pawn in their arguments. Back then, they had agreed to joint custody, so I spent equal time at both houses. My dad lived just 20 minutes away, which made the arrangement work well. My early childhood memories are actually quite pleasant. Even after the divorce, both my parents made efforts to attend my school events and sports games. They would sit separately but always showed up to support me. My mom was a kindergarten teacher and my dad worked in construction. They weren't rich but made enough to give me a comfortable life. Everything changed when my mom met Derek 5 years ago at a school where she was teaching. He was a parent of one of her students and asked her out after his kid moved to a different class. Derek seemed decent at first. He had a good job as an investment banker, dressed well, and appeared to genuinely care about my mom. He made her laugh in ways I hadn't seen since before the divorce. They dated for about 8 months before getting married. The wedding was small but nice. Derek gave a speech about how excited he was to not just gain a wife but also a son. Looking back now, those words feel so fake. My dad was hesitant about Derek at first but tried to be supportive for my sake. He told me later that something about Derek felt off to him, but he couldn't put his finger on what. Within a year of their marriage, my mom got pregnant with my sister Emma. I was actually really excited about being a big brother. When Emma was born, I helped change diapers, feed her, and would spend hours just making her laugh. A year later, they had my brother Lucas. I loved both of them instantly and never thought of them as half-siblings. They were just my little brother and sister who I adored. For the first few years, things were okay. Derek wasn't particularly warm towards me, but he wasn't openly hostile either. He mostly ignored me unless my mom was around. Then about a year ago, his behavior started changing drastically. It began with small comments here and there about my appearance or hobbies. If I wore ripped jeans, he'd make remarks about how I looked like a homeless person. When I played video games, he'd constantly talk about how I was wasting my life and would end up a loser. He criticized everything from my haircut to my taste in music. These comments always came when my mom wasn't within earshot. What made it worse was how he'd act completely different when others were around. In front of my mom or guests, he'd put his arm around me and talk about father-son bonding. But as soon as they left, the psychological torture would begin again. He was smart about it too. He never left any marks or evidence, just constant verbal and emotional abuse. I started dreading going to my mom's house. Every minute there felt like walking on eggshells. I never knew what would set him off or what he'd criticize next. My grades started slipping because I couldn't concentrate on homework when I was there. I developed insomnia and would lie awake at night dreading the next day. I tried telling my mom multiple times about Derek's behavior. But he was a master manipulator. Whenever I brought up specific incidents, he'd twist them around. Like when I told my mom about him calling me worthless, he claimed he was just trying to motivate me to work harder. He convinced her that I was being overly sensitive and rebellious. The breaking point came when Derek started suggesting I was a bad influence on my siblings. He told my mom that my attitude problems might affect Emma and Lucas negatively. He even claimed he caught me teaching Lucas bad words, which was completely false. I would never do anything to harm my siblings. If anything, they were the only bright spot in that house. One particularly bad night, Derek went on a rant about how ungrateful I was. He said my mom should have left me with my dad completely since I was just causing problems in their perfect family. When I started crying, he mocked me for being weak. That night I called my dad sobbing and told him everything. My dad was furious. He wanted to confront Derek immediately, but I begged him not to make things worse. Instead, he offered to let me live with him full time. I was hesitant at first because of my siblings. But after another month of Derek's abuse, I couldn't take it anymore. I warned my mom several times that if things didn't change, I would move out. Derek just smirked when I said this, probably thinking I was bluffing. My mom kept making excuses for him, saying he was just stressed at work or that we needed family counseling. But I knew counseling wouldn't fix someone who didn't think they had a problem. A month ago, I packed all my stuff while Derek was at work and moved to my dad's. My mom cried and pleaded with me to stay, promising things would get better. But I couldn't believe her anymore. She had chosen Derek over me too many times. Living with my dad has been like finally being able to breathe again. My anxiety has decreased significantly, I'm sleeping better, and my grades are improving. My dad gives me space when I need it but is always there to talk. He even helped me set up a proper gaming corner in my room, something Derek always complained about. The only thing breaking my heart is my siblings. Emma and Lucas don't understand why their big brother isn't around anymore. When I visited last week, Emma wrapped her arms around my legs and wouldn't let go. Lucas just kept asking when I was coming home. My mom sends me daily updates about how much they miss me. Yesterday my mom called saying Derek feels terrible about everything and wants me to come back. She said he's realized his mistakes and promises things will be different. But I don't trust him. I think he's just worried about how it looks to others that his stepson chose to leave. My dad says I should trust my gut and reminds me that abusers often promise to change when they lose control. I know my siblings are suffering because of my choice. My mom sent me a video of Emma crying at bedtime asking for me. Lucas apparently carries around a picture of us and shows it to everyone saying his big brother is coming home soon. It absolutely kills me that I can't be there for them, but I also know I can't sacrifice my mental health by going back. Am I the asshole for choosing my own well-being over being there for my siblings? Update 1. After my last post, I got overwhelmed with supportive messages telling me I wasn't wrong for choosing my mental health. Many suggested finding ways to maintain a relationship with my siblings without being around Derek. I spent several days thinking about how to make this work and came up with a plan. I talked to my mom and suggested a schedule where I could be involved in my siblings' lives from a safe distance. She seemed relieved that I wanted to stay connected with Emma and Lucas, so she agreed to my proposals. We set up a routine where I would video call them every other day around bedtime to read stories. Emma particularly loved when I did different voices for characters, and Lucas would always ask to see the pictures in the books up close. I also arranged to pick them up from daycare once a week. The plan was that I would take them to the park or library for a few hours before dropping them back home. I specifically chose times when Derek would be at work, and my mom agreed to this arrangement. For the first 2 weeks, everything went smoothly. My siblings were excited about our new routine, and I felt good about finding a way to be present in their lives. The video calls became something we all looked forward to. Emma would tell me about her day at preschool, showing me her drawings and the new words she learned. Lucas, despite being only 3, would try to read along with me, mostly just repeating the last word of each sentence. It wasn't the same as being there in person, but it was better than nothing. Our park visits were even better. I would help Emma on the swings while Lucas played in the sandbox. We would get ice cream from the truck that always parked nearby, and they would tell me all about their week. Sometimes we would go to the library instead, where I would help Emma pick out books, and Lucas would play with the wooden train set they had there. But last week, everything fell apart. I was at the park with Emma and Lucas, pushing them on the swings, when I saw Derek's car pull into the parking lot. My heart started racing immediately. He walked over with his fake smile plastered on his face, acting like running into us was some happy coincidence. But I knew better. This was planned. Derek started playing the role of caring stepdad perfectly. He suggested we all go get ice cream together, tried to join in our games, and kept making comments about how nice it was to have family time. When I refused to engage with him, his nice guy act started slipping. His smile became more forced, and his eyes got that cold look I remembered so well. When I said we needed to leave, Derek's mask completely dropped. He turned to Emma and Lucas and said, "Your brother doesn't want to spend time with us because he's selfish. He doesn't care about family." Emma started crying immediately, and Lucas just stood there looking confused and scared. It was exactly the kind of manipulation I had tried to protect them from. I quickly gathered their things and took them home, trying to calm Emma down the whole way. When we got there, I confronted my mom about Derek showing up. That's when she admitted she had told him about our schedule. She claimed she did it because Derek kept asking about spending time with all of us together. She said he really wanted to make things right. I felt completely betrayed. The one thing I had asked for was space from Derek, and my mom couldn't even respect that. She tried to defend her actions, saying I needed to be more forgiving and give him another chance. It was the same pattern all over again, her choosing Derek's feelings over my well-being. Things got even worse when I found out through my mom's best friend Sarah what Derek had been saying about me to our extended family. Sarah called me concerned because she had heard Derek telling people at a family gathering that I moved out because I was jealous of my siblings. He painted this picture of me as an entitled teenager who couldn't handle not being the center of attention anymore. According to Sarah, Derek told everyone how he had tried so hard to be a father figure to me, but I rejected all his attempts because I resented him for giving my mom more children. He even suggested that I had been mean to Emma and Lucas out of spite. The worst part was that some family members actually believed him. My Aunt Lisa, who used to be really close to me, now barely speaks to me at family gatherings. My mom's cousins give me these disapproving looks, and I've heard whispers about how I broke my mom's heart by abandoning my family. The fact that these people who have known me my whole life could so easily believe Derek's lies hurts almost as much as the original abuse. My dad is absolutely livid about the whole situation. When he heard about Derek ambushing us at the park and spreading lies, he wanted to go confront him directly. I had to beg him not to make things worse. I know Derek would just twist any confrontation to make himself look like the victim anyway. For now, I've decided to stop the park visits entirely. I can't risk Derek showing up again and manipulating my siblings against me. I'm still doing the video calls, but only when I know for certain he's at work. My mom keeps trying to convince me to resume our outings, promising Derek won't interfere again, but I don't believe her anymore. Emma cried when I told her we couldn't go to the park anymore, and Lucas doesn't understand why we only talk through the computer now. It breaks my heart, but I have to protect myself. I just hope that someday they'll understand why their big brother had to keep his distance. Update 2: I didn't expect to be posting another update so soon, but something happened that completely validated all my fears about Derek. My 13-year-old cousin Jack reached out to me last week through social media. Jack often spends time at my mom's house because his parents both work late, and my mom offered to watch him after school. Jack and I were always close despite the age gap. We both love video games and would often play together when I still lived at my mom's. Derek never seemed to have an issue with Jack before, but apparently that changed after I left. In his message, Jack told me that Derek started treating him similarly to how he treated me. It began with the same pattern: subtle digs when no one else was around, constant criticism of his hobbies, and comments about him being lazy or worthless. Jack said Derek would act completely different when my mom or his parents were present, just like he did with me. What made this situation different was that Jack was smarter than I had been. He started secretly recording Derek on his phone whenever he was alone with him. The recordings he sent me made my blood run cold. I heard Derek telling Jack he was pathetic, that no one really liked him, and that he was just a burden on everyone. In one recording, Derek mocked Jack for crying, calling him a baby just like he used to call me. Hearing those recordings brought back all the anxiety and trauma I experienced. I had panic attacks 2 nights in a row after listening to them. But they also validated everything I had been saying. I wasn't crazy or oversensitive like Derek made me feel. His abuse was real, and now I had proof. I showed the recordings to my dad, and we decided that my mom needed to hear them. We invited her to my dad's house, making sure Derek wouldn't know where she was going. When we played the recordings for her, she finally broke down. She admitted that she had noticed signs of Derek's behavior but kept making excuses because she was afraid of failing at marriage again. My mom cried and apologized for not believing me sooner. She said hearing Derek talk to Jack the same way made her realize this wasn't just teenage rebellion or me being difficult. She promised she would confront Derek and make changes to protect Jack and my siblings. But when she confronted Derek with the recordings, he somehow managed to manipulate the situation again. He claimed Jack and I had planned this together to make him look bad. He said we were troubled teens who didn't like having rules and structure in our lives. He even suggested that maybe Jack was jealous because Derek spent more time with Emma and Lucas than with him. The most frustrating part was watching my mom actually consider his explanation. Despite hearing the abuse with her own ears, she started wondering if maybe Derek had a point. She mentioned how Jack had been acting out lately, probably because of Derek's abuse, and suggested that maybe he and I were just trying to cause problems. Jack's parents were a different story. When they heard the recordings, they immediately pulled Jack out of my mom's house. They were furious that their son had been subjected to emotional abuse while under my mom's care. They also finally understood why I had left and apologized for believing Derek's lies about me. This whole situation has caused a huge rift in our extended family. Some relatives still believe Derek's version of events, while others are now seeing him for who he really is. My Aunt Lisa, who had been cold to me before, called to apologize after hearing about Jack's experience. She said she should have known better than to believe Derek's stories about me. Yesterday, my mom tried calling me to say that Derek wants family counseling. He apparently suggested that Jack and I attend sessions with him to work through our issues. I refused immediately. I know it's just another attempt at manipulation, another way for him to control the narrative and make himself look like the caring parent trying to fix things. The hardest part is knowing that my siblings are still in that house with him. Emma and Lucas are too young to record or report any mistreatment. I worry about how Derek might treat them as they get older, especially if they start showing any signs of defiance like Jack and I did. I've tried talking to my dad about getting full custody of my siblings, but he explained that it would be nearly impossible since Derek hasn't left any physical marks and my mom would have to agree to it. For now, all I can do is maintain my distance and be there for them through our video calls. At least now I know for certain that I'm not crazy. Derek is the problem, and I'm glad I got out when I did. Update 3: After everything that happened with Jack, I made the difficult decision to completely cut contact with my mom's household except for video calls with my siblings. The decision wasn't easy, but seeing how Derek managed to manipulate even recorded evidence of his abuse made me realize nothing would ever change. My dad helped me establish firm boundaries. He now handles all communication with my mom regarding my siblings. We set up specific times for video calls, and my dad makes sure Derek isn't around during these calls. My mom tried arguing against this arrangement at first, but after my dad threatened to get lawyers involved, she agreed. Jack's situation actually caused a ripple effect in our family. His parents shared the recordings with other family members, which led to more people finally seeing through Derek's manipulation. My Aunt Lisa and her husband stopped attending family events at my mom's house. Several cousins who used to hang out there regularly stopped coming over. Even my grandmother, who initially defended Derek, admitted that she had been wrong about him. The isolation seems to be affecting Derek's behavior. My mom's best friend Sarah told me that he's become more controlling at home. He monitors my mom's phone calls and questions her whenever she goes out. Sarah thinks my mom is afraid to leave him but won't admit it. She said my mom has been looking tired and anxious lately. Derek still tries to maintain his perfect stepfather image to outsiders. He posts family photos on social media, showing him playing with Emma and Lucas, captioning them with things like "family is everything" or "blessed to be their dad." It makes me sick knowing the truth behind those smiling photos. Emma and Lucas have started showing signs of stress too. During our video calls, Emma sometimes mentions that Daddy Derek gets angry a lot. Lucas has become quieter, nothing like the chatty 3-year-old he used to be. I've documented everything they tell me, just in case it's needed someday. Last week, my mom tried once again to get me to reconcile with Derek. She showed up at my dad's house unannounced, crying about how our family is falling apart. She said Derek is willing to apologize, attend therapy, whatever it takes. But I saw the fear in her eyes when her phone rang and Derek's name appeared on the screen. I told her I would support her if she ever decided to leave him, but I wouldn't pretend everything was okay just to keep her happy. My dad offered to help her find a lawyer if she wanted one, but she just shook her head and left. The hardest part is knowing my siblings are still in that house with him. But I've realized that destroying myself won't protect them. Instead, I'm focusing on building a stronger relationship with them through our video calls. I make sure they know they can always talk to me about anything. When they're older, I want them to remember that their big brother was always there for them, even if he couldn't be there physically. My dad and I have started researching how to document emotional abuse for future legal purposes. We keep records of everything, screenshots of messages, notes from video calls, anything that might help if things get worse and my mom finally decides to leave. I'm doing much better now. My grades have improved significantly, and I've started playing basketball again, something I'd given up when living with Derek became too stressful. Sometimes I feel guilty about leaving my siblings behind, but then I remember what my dad always says: you can't help others if you're drowning yourself. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I made the right choice in leaving. Sometimes protecting yourself means making hard decisions, and that's okay.